The I is an illusion, so there is no one. That's why nothing can be achieved, and that's why nothing has been lost. It's this impression, I am, and I'm unfulfilled, which doesn't have any substance. That's the dream, that's the illusion. And it doesn't have to be replaced by a me that sees or becomes enlightened. That's a fight that can't be won. It'll never be won. There'll never be someone who got it.
Oh, 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 wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Welcome to Silent Sage Speak, the podcast where timeless wisdom meets the present moment. I'm your host, Sukhdev Virdee, and in each episode, we delve into the profound teachings of non dual masters, those who have transcended the boundaries of duality and revealed the simplicity of existence. Join us on this journey beyond words as we explore the essence of being with those who have realized the truth that goes beyond language, beyond thought. Open your mind, silence your chatter, and let the wisdom of silent sages resonate within you. Today, my guest is from Germany and a best selling author of several books based on non duality, which I'll mention a few of. Uh, Freedom for No One, Unlocked, Bondage and Liberation, No Approach, No Arriving. You will never be free. Today, he is a speaker, mentor, coach, and a best selling author on non duality. I'd like to welcome to the show Andreas Muller. Welcome to the show, Andreas.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thanks a
I
lot.
am so happy to have you. Um, the book titles are so intriguing. You will never be free. I love
Yeah,
it.
I think that's the best one
Yeah,
actually.
and then freedom for no one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you're based in Germany. Were you born and brought up in Germany?
Yes, actually, I was
Oh,
born here, and actually, I still live quite close to where I grew up.
okay,
So,
great. What I want you to do is now I'm just gonna let you speak. I want to just get us into how you got into non-duality, maybe childhood, how you it all started, and right up to when you actually realized there was nothing to realize.
mhm.
um, your story in spirituality and non-duality so far.
Yes, okay. I try to keep it short because I
Yeah.
don't think it's very interesting. But so I grew up here in southern Germany, and it was, I think, a rather normal childhood. Um, it wasn't really extreme and stuff. So I just grew up middle class, kind of wealthy, not rich really, but kind of wealthy. Was all right in a suburb of Stuttgart. Everything rather harmonious and peaceful, I think, compared to what's possible. Um, and well, I think seeking or the conscious seeking, whatever, it's a story. Conscious seeking kind of started when I was a teenager, when I came in contact with, well, I think people would call it drugs. I don't like that word too much. Substances, which created some kind of states of happiness and joy. And I was surprised that I could feel so joyful, as if I haven't known this before in my life, which was quite weird in a way. So I was fascinated with this for a few years. And after a few years, this ended kind of. It became kind of boring and dull, as if I had been high enough times, so to speak.
Wow.
So I came out of this and stumbled into spirituality because, of course, I was still fascinated with feeling good or with the idea of having good experiences or joyful experiences. So I've been to spirituality for a while with a lot of healing stuff, self-inquiry, accepting stuff, letting go, whatever. All of those ideas and concepts I tried to realize for myself, and I tried to do, and I tried to go on further on my path. So there were those little successes and little failures and highs and lows and stuff like that. But after a few years, the same thing happened then with the substances before. It kind of became dull, and what I was actually looking for, a deeper kind of fulfillment, just never happened. And out of nowhere or accidentally, I came across Tony Parsons and his message. And that's when I actually came into non-duality, but to be honest, without knowing that this was something called non-duality, because I just had Tony and I didn't listen to anyone else at that time. I had just had Tony, or rather this message, this impersonal message. And so that was how I was interested in them. And this message kept kind of vibrating and sometimes, and it wiped me out in the end. I think that's the story. That's what seemed to have happened in the life until I died.
uh, so how long did it take? Like when you say like till you died, from the time it started, when you actually heard non-duality or Tony Parsons for the first time, and you got the message of non-duality, from that to the time that you actually realized, and obviously ego death, or you realized that there's nothing to realize, and how
Yeah,
was
and
it a few
until the
months? Was it a
personal
few
energy
years?
melted away, that's how I would describe it.
Yeah,
Well, it was about 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
2 years. I mean, I had kind of a one or two awakenings before that, which I see as a moment without me, a moment where there was no one.
Okay.
That's also when the whole seeking dynamic started to crumble. And a few months later, I met Tony, or this message, and 2 years later, there was no one left anymore.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And this we're talking about, is it during a time when there was hardly any internet or hardly any, online teachings of non-duality? Did you have to get books of him, or did you get tapes? How did you get in touch? How did you get the
Well, no,
information?
it was 2009 actually, so
Okay.
internet and stuff was around already,
Yeah.
but there wasn't too much content. So it
Yes.
was going to the meetings and phoning him, and there were a few videos online, but
Yes.
not as many as today. So yeah, but that
Okay.
was all right.
Yeah. All right. So now I'm gonna ask you now this things, because you've mentioned them when you say melting away of the ego or melting away of the individual person. For a layman or somebody who's just coming into non-duality, what does it actually mean, or how would you elaborate on it?
Well, I think well, I see it like that in a way. Well, let's put it like this. There seems to be, for most people, and there has been for me as well,
Yeah.
this impression that I am someone, this energy that calls itself me, and a separate energy. That's how it feels, or it's not a thought. It's kind of an experience. I exist. And how I would describe it, liberation is just the melting away or the death of that illusion. It's not really a realization, and it's not really that I gained something from it or I became someone, a sage or something. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So that's why I would just call it a melting away, a fizzling out, a dying off.
But that would mean that there was some, or like you're describing it as energy, that energy is no longer there now.
Exactly. It's two things. On the one hand, it's not longer there,
Yeah.
and especially the consequences of that energy are not longer there.
Yes.
On the other hand, actually just turned out that it was never really there in the first place. And
Yes.
that's not logical. I can't really explain that, but that's how I would describe it.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Obviously, the ego is an illusion, and if you, I studied Advaita Vedanta for almost 3 4 years, and I Intellectually, I get all this as well. Apart
Mm.
from my realization and awakening, I was very adamant on getting it intellectually so that if somebody asks about it, I can explain it logically. And Vedanta is all about logic and reasoning, intellectual understanding of the truth, which cannot be understood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think
yeah. So,
it's rather description,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
of what we talk
So,
about.
so, but when we say now for people listening, when you know, if I had heard myself maybe 10 years ago, I would say this guy has gone crazy. He's lost it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. When you say the person does not exist, it's an illusion. That's what you realize, that it was never there. It was
Mm,
never there. And actually, in Vedanta, that's what they say. What does Vedanta do? It shows you what was always there, and
mm,
it takes away what was never there.
mm.
So what you thought you were was never there. And what you are
Exactly.
was always there. You just never realized it or recognized it or, came into awakening it. Now, when you wake up, when it happens, was this like a spontaneous awakening? Did it take a few, for some, it would take a few weeks, it would take a few months for the dissolution of the person. And for some, I've seen it works instantly.
Yeah, well, that's a funny thing in my story, I'd say. That's what I mean. But I can tell this looking back. This was not my experience back then.
Yeah.
But I'd say, on the one hand, it took 2 years, but on the other hand, it just was over at one point. So death is always instant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, However, I didn't have an event. So there was no event of dropping away. It was
Okay.
just suddenly not there anymore, which sounds like an event, but it isn't, or it wasn't.
Yeah. But actually it gradually like it from what you're saying, it seems like it gradually like faded away.
Kind
Um
of, exactly. But as I said, this was not my experience at that time.
yeah.
I told myself a completely different story
Yeah.
because the whole fading away is still within the dream. It's
Yeah.
still me alive, me being alive. So, in a way, at one point, apparently it's just over. In
Wow.
that sense, the dropping away is always instant.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then when you actually realize it, now here's the thing. A lot of people think that once you realize the self or you realize the absolute truth, suddenly when we talk about everything being an illusion, somebody who's not awakened to that probably thinks maybe we are seeing something else, which is not obviously the truth. We're seeing the same thing, just we have a knowledge of something higher than what is right now in front of us.
Well, I wouldn't, yeah, I would really describe it differently, to be
Okay.
honest,
Yeah.
because the word realization in that sense, I wouldn't call this a realization because the melting away of the personal energy,
Yeah.
um, actually, to me, that's death without replacement. So there isn't, I mean, you're completely right. It's not that something new happens or that something else is seen.
Yeah.
I would just say it's just not lived, or life doesn't happen anymore through the lens of being a person. But it's not really a new way of seeing, or it's not a new way of experiencing something.
Yeah.
That's why I'm also very careful with words like the truth or realizing the truth.
Okay.
Um, because in the end, nothing is realized here. There's just nothing there anymore, which thinks about itself in terms of I'm not realized.
Yes, yes. And your books say that. Uh, which one is that? Unlocked, bondage and liberation. And then the second one, no approach, no arriving. It's like
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like contradictory as well. Like you're saying it's nothing
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's
there's
not.
no approach to wholeness,
Yeah.
but liberation is also not arriving in wholeness.
Okay.
I'm not someone who has arrived.
Yes, there would have to be the person there to arrive, where the
To have
person
an
is no longer there.
experience. Yeah, to have an experience of
Yeah.
I've arrived.
Ah, you have one of the best, sweetest smiles I have seen.
Well,
All right. Now you then after this awakening or this entire realization or whatever we want to call it, when did you decide to start writing about it? And I've seen your books are some of them are a collection of dialogues with somebody. Some of them are a collection of posts that you have put up, and you are featured in one of the movies that I saw on your website. What was it? Zero and One.
yeah.
Yeah. How did all that start? When did your journey as maybe an author or maybe when you started talking and speaking about this?
Yeah, I'd say the first meetings or the first invitations to meetings happened actually almost directly out of the dying. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's just what happened. And it wasn't even a real decision in terms of, okay, I do this now. It just came up and it happened. It wasn't really intended or a goal. It wasn't something that I wanted to do, but yeah, it was just going down that road.
You probably
And
had people just coming to ask you questions or wanting to listen to you about this.
well, that started. I mean, my first meetings, often there were just one person was coming, and then two times no one was coming, but the invitation never stopped. I never stopped putting it out in terms of, hey, whoever's interested, you are welcome.
Mhm.
Um, and then more people came, and then people asked for a book, and it just happened slowly. But I never expected it to become this. I always thought it'll end soon anyway, or so there wasn't a plan behind it or an intention. I thought for many years it'll just remain kind of, well, for lack of a better word, it'll just remain a hobby or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, you're talking now, we're talking about maybe 10 years, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, 10, I started 2011, I started.
2011. Yeah, so about 15, almost about 15.
Almost
Um,
15 years. Yeah,
yeah.
and in the
So
first few years, I think for the first 4 years, I only spoke in Germany, in German language, and then slowly the English kicked
oh
in.
yeah, 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 yeah. I forgot to ask you that. You speak really good English for a German person, and uh, I went on your YouTube channel. You have your videos. You have a translator who does it in Spanish and other different languages,
Yeah,
and that's a live translator. It's not an AI or something.
oh,
And
yeah, it's a live translator. Yeah,
what other languages do you do that in? You speak English, you speak German. I saw the Spanish translator.
yeah.
What other
Well, I
languages?
only speak English and German,
Okay.
and my English improved a lot since I'm doing talks in English.
Yeah.
Before that, I had English in school, but it improved a lot when I started to speak English. And meanwhile, it's almost on a daily basis. So
Yeah. No, it's
that's why.
quite good now. That's really good.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Um,
And translations, I have someone translates into French and Spanish and Chinese. That's the,
wow. So
yeah.
that definitely means that you have viewers who are watching you from all those countries or people who speak that language.
Yeah, small groups, but
Yeah.
yes.
Still, oh, Chinese, you said. Wow.
Mm. No,
uh,
that's a surprise, really.
Yeah. We have obviously the Tao Te Ching from there, from Tibet, and Lao Tzu and Chuang They are from there, and their teachings are all non-dual as well. Um, what did you have any? Did you follow any tradition? Did you read any books? How did you understand this? Did you do it on your own, or is it just Tony Parsons' listenings and words that you had? Did you have
Yeah,
access? Germany is one of the most uh, uh, interested place in the Upanishads. The Upanishads of the Vedas in India. they have been mostly translated into German, and German is one of the biggest markets for non-dual texts.
Oh, wow. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. As I said, even when I met Tony and when I heard this, I hardly ever heard the term non-dual or non-duality. For me, this was just so direct, and I just had this message, which for me
Wow.
wasn't part of any tradition. I mean, which I still think
Yeah, of
isn't.
course,
So
of
I
course.
still think this message. But sometimes I don't even like, or mostly I don't even really like the word non-dual because
Yeah.
it's used for so many different things. And this message or this apparent message is way more direct. But no, it was just only afterwards, actually, when I started talking, people mentioned a lot of so-called non-dual texts and gurus and stuff. But I
You
was
ne-
just
you never had the curiosity to read or hear them or see what they're talking about. Is it similar to what you are experiencing? Somebody like Ramana Maharshi. Have you heard of Ramana Maharshi?
Yeah, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, meanwhile, I mean, about Ramana, I've heard him before, of
Yeah. So
course. I mean,
he
he's
had
kind of
his
cool.
realization at the age of 16, then went to the mountain Arunachala, and he sat in a cave for 10, 11 years, all in silence. And when he came back out, he was like, okay, I can speak now, I can talk now. And then he stumbled across the books of Shankaracharya and Vedanta
Hmm.
texts. And then he went through them and he's like, oh, so people know about this. This is what I've been experiencing, you know? And then he
Yeah.
learned it all. And if you have heard his teachings, he talks really high Vedantic stuff. And then at the end, he says, all this knowledge is absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so you did did not ever feel that you need to, relate to anybody else or maybe get
Well,
different words or different ways of speaking of the same one reality that you have realized.
well, I think meanwhile, I'm just a lot of those things crosses my path.
Yeah.
So, but it happened quite naturally, and of course, but I didn't feel an urge or a need to do that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was just over. Well, it was just over here. But after that, that's the thing. When I started doing these talks,
Yes.
um, it just crossed my path because people showed me texts of him and people showed me texts of other people and asked me about what do you think about this and is it a bit like this? So I got into it.
Uh-huh.
Almost, to be honest, almost a bit like Ramana, who no, I don't want to compare myself with him, but the dropping happened, and then suddenly I started to read bits of here and there, but this mainly happened after I collapsed.
I saw this on one of your last videos when you said somebody asked you, so what actually collapsed? What was the collapsing? You want to share that?
Well, what did I say? What did I say in the video? Well, nothing collapsed. That's the funny thing. It's the collapse of an illusion, and it doesn't. I can't say more about it. There is no one. And
Yeah.
it's not that here there was a huge, tremendous collapse of a huge illusion. No, it's actually the illusion is that there is an illusion. There is, there is
Wow.
no one. And not only here, you are no one. Every listener is no one. There is no separate entity at all. I mean, this doesn't apply to me only. It's an
Yeah.
impersonal message, and no one is someone. So
Yeah. Yeah. I love the quotes that you have on your website. It says, there is nothing to achieve or to lose because what is naturally coherent and perfect. Everything is exactly what it is.
absolutely. And that's the natural reality. Andreas is Andreas, and the table behind me is the table behind me, and you are what you are, and it's very natural, and
Yeah.
everything and everyone is that natural what it is.
I love the quote you just gave. The illusion is that there is an illusion. That one's
Absolutely.
beautiful. That is
There's
beautiful.
nothing to overcome. There's nothing to lose or to go deeper or transcend in all those things. It's just not there in that sense.
Okay. Now, see, uh, these same things that we are speaking of right now, if we go back 20 years now, maybe if I go back 20 years, I would be in my late 20s. I'm 49 now. I would be maybe about 29. Um, if I was to speak to myself, my 29-year-old now, this guy would seem crazy. And what would you say to your 20-year-old self behind?
I-
Would you tell him it's all an illusion and all the words that we're using now?
well, it's really I don't know if I would tell him anything, but probably what I would say, come on, guy, it's all good.
And
But
here's the question: would he
but
listen?
but maybe
Okay.
I wouldn't even have said that because I would have known how much pressure this would have put on my 20-year-old self.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if I would be able to hear it. And
Yeah.
maybe it would have brought me even more struggle because I couldn't believe it. Because I thought if everything is good, why don't I feel it?
Yeah.
So
And why the reason I'm asking this is because every other person who's not maybe like what we're saying is melted away or come to this state is asking the same question. You know, how do I believe this? What you are talking about? How do I believe it? How do I know it's not, another kind of literally, I would probably call myself mad if I was listening to myself. I would say this guy is mental.
mm,
He's lost it. Needs a psychiatrist. And
I mean,
the thing is that it's very difficult to talk about this. And the good thing is, one good thing is that the sages and the saints of the past have left the same messages. So you can at least relate what you're talking to what you're saying can be related in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Gita, in the Mahabharata. All these texts have the same core teachings of non-duality in them. And so
yeah, but I don't really know if that's an advantage. If it is like that at all, I
yeah,
don't know if that's an advantage actually, because
um,
for the seeker,
no,
this makes it look much more like a tradition. The seeker loves that stuff in terms of it's been said there and it's been said there, and
yeah,
so as if it gives it validity. But for the seeker, it only, yeah, it confirms that there is a truth out there and that this can be known. And I think the directness of this message is often overlooked
yeah.
because of that, actually.
Uh, yeah, I would look it in like an advantage, from an advantage point of view, in the sense that if I'm experiencing something that's never happened in my life before, and something happened which I'd have no idea about, and I hear about it through somebody else, and they went through the same experience, and then they started speaking about it, then I feel like, oh, okay, I might be on the right path. But if I have no idea, never heard about it, then it's all left to me whether I make sense of it or I just leave it and ignore it completely and go back to what I was doing in my
Well,
life
which
before.
wouldn't be possible
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah,
So,
you would have a struggle there. It would be a
oh, yeah,
very big
absolutely.
struggle.
I think I think it's okay to meet this message,
Yeah.
but I think it's just very good. I mean, as I said, I think for me it was quite okay to have it that direct, and it wasn't embedded into any kind of tradition. And I think still this message hasn't anything to do with
Oh, no, 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 no.
traditional
My
knowledge.
my 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 reason for mentioning those is that they all have this non-dual message in all of them. There is one common thread through every spiritual person that's spoken about it, whether it's Rumi in the form of love poems, or whether it is, Guru Nanak in the form of hymns, whether it's Jesus in his statements, the core thread that is common between in all of them is non-duality. They all talk about one. And if you listen to Rumi in his poems, he's talking about the same one in a different way. Somebody like Jesus is a little more direct. Advaita Vedanta is completely direct. uh, Lao Tzu, with the examples of life and how to live life from that oneness point of view. Okay. Um, you do a lot of events. I was on your website. You do retreats. Like you said, you have meetings. You do one-on-ones, and walk us through how somebody, when somebody comes to you and says, "I would like to learn from you. I would like to hear the message that you have." How do you take them from where they are to where you would like them to be?
Well, I think this whole dynamic that you were just describing doesn't really happen here because I don't take people where they are and bring them somewhere else. So I think that's the whole point of this message, that there is no teaching. So in that sense, I don't regard myself as a teacher or a guru even or something,
Yeah.
because there's absolutely nothing to share. There is nothing that speaks to the seeker at all. So the seeker isn't recognized. And all that seems to be happening here is an instantaneous and direct pointing out that there is no seeker. So people who look for guidance or advice, they might be disappointed. Well, my impression is that, at least to my meetings, there are almost only people coming who have a resonance for that and are fed up with all kind of teachings. They just don't want to hear any
Yes.
more advices and suggestions and concepts and stuff like that. And so, in that sense, in my meetings or in the meetings,
Yeah.
there is really nothing on offer
Yes.
except this incomprehensible emptiness that everything is.
So, what do you tell such a person? What on the meetings? Is it a silent meeting, or do you actually
Oh
have
no, it's the same thing that I tell you now, or that we talk about now. There is no one, there's nothing to achieve, there's no state, there's no separation, there just is no me.
Okay, and you have people who actually realize that while it's happening. Is this the Zoom
Oh,
calls,
there
or is
were
it the?
people dying, of course.
Okay,
Yes.
is
Oh
this on
yeah.
the Zoom calls or on the one-on-one meetings that you do?
Oh no, usually people melt away at some point, usually not in the meetings, or
Okay,
usually not during the conversations.
yeah, yeah,
And of course, that they melt away or that people die because of speaking to me or to Tony
yeah,
or to
yeah.
any or to others. That's a story, of course. So
I love the way the word you're using, melt away. I love that.
yeah, it's
It's
lovely.
something different. I've not heard other people. I've never used it myself. Melt away. I've only heard with the mind melting away. But your way of putting it is beautiful. Melt
Mm,
away and obviously dying. Um,
yes, yeah.
these are, I think, very familiar words from Tony Parsons as well. He uses that quite a bit. And so at the retreats, then, is it the same thing that it's the same thing?
It's just the same thing, really.
So I'm really stuck now. You've got to help me. What should I ask you?
Oh yeah, well, that's difficult. That's really difficult because
Oh,
everything is just so utterly direct. I mean,
yeah,
what happens is direct, and this message is direct.
yeah.
So it's very hard to talk about anything because it becomes very abstract and theoretical quite quickly.
Okay.
And
I I I uh Because like I told you, I really get this, and made sure that I intellectually also get it. For a seeker, from what I've seen, people who say I am a seeker, I want to know the truth, I want to understand it. Asking the right questions is very important. If you don't ask the right questions, you've got to know what to ask for somebody who's talking about the truth, because the truth or whatever we are talking about will not make sense to a normal common person. And if the seeker doesn't know what to ask, the person will not say it because there is nothing to say there. But if he asks the right question, he can provoke the person to give out a teaching that can be beneficial to him. Let's do this right now. Can we do this? I would love to do that.
All right.
So when you say there is just the directness or there's just the message, what is the message? I'm just
Well,
pretending to be a seeker.
the
Yeah.
message in the end is that there is no such thing as a message. There is no teaching. There
Okay.
is nothing that I can tell you that you need to understand or get or comprehend or feel or realize. So, this whole dynamic of me being separate from you, giving you something,
Yeah.
is the illusion. So, the message that I share is the same message that the table behind me shares, or the plant, or the floor,
Wow.
or the beating heart, or the blood that runs through the body. And the message is there is no message.
Wow. That is powerful. That is powerful.
That
That
was
is
a lovely
powerful.
answer, I think.
Now that's that because I got that. Uh, the same message that the table is giving, the stairs are giving, the plant is giving. See, now this is jogging somebody's mind. I would never think that the table is giving a message. But if now that you pointed it out, what message is it giving? It's just there. It's just what it is. It's a
So to
table.
speak. It's just what it is, but it's blindly what it is. It doesn't even know about itself that it is.
Yeah. Wow.
That's so
Okay.
interesting.
That was really nice. So, like I said, asking the right questions is very important. When a lot of people on the non-dual path call, like you said, it's an illusion, and then you said the illusion is an illusion, that there is an illusion. So now
Mm.
this is paradoxical, or it's something that's not logically right. How would you straighten that out for somebody who's, who wants to? What do you mean by the illusion is the illusion? So how would you put that in simple words?
Well, I think it's already quite simple. Um, I think the most simplest way to say is there is no one.
Okay, and then the question would a seeker would ask, then what is there?
Exactly. Or who I am, but yeah,
Yeah, who
what
am
is
I, or
there?
what is there?
Ask the table. Ask the table.
I
You are
love that.
talking to no one. You are talking to no one. There is no answer to what is there.
Andres, you are doing a beautiful job. You don't realize that you're answering without answering. You're not even thinking that you're answering.
Yeah.
That pause of silence was everything in there. That pause that you took, that was everything. Uh, Beautiful. These are the things that actually make the mind go blank, and uh, at that point, maybe you might intuitively realize the silence or the message that we're talking about intuitively. But these are the kind of things that need to be said, and these are the things that a lot of people have said in the past as well. And
Mm.
I'm sure you
It
must be
just
getting people who ask you this kind of questions.
Well, I think that's the other thing. I just wanted to say, when you said it's important to ask the right questions, I think nothing is important, but I think that the questions do come out of an openness to this or a resonance, which can't be made and which doesn't happen because of the seeker. But I think for some people, the very seeking itself feels like a burden. And then there is an openness to this. And then questions arise out of this.
Yeah.
But usually they are not theoretical, they are not conceptual, they seemingly come out of this longing for freedom.
Yes, yes, that's a very important point. That's a very important point, and that's very true. Sorry, I was talking from a point of view of somebody who's hearing it for the first time. But like you said, the people who are already maybe coming to you are very open. They don't want any more concepts. They don't want any more teachings, and they are open to what you're saying. If you just sat there silence, they are listening to that.
Anyway, exactly, the openness is already there.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I'm just saying, not that some people think they have to find the right question or something, because
Ah,
there's never really a right or a wrong question, but in that sense.
yeah. From what I
But, and
realize. Ah,
sorry, and people who won't have this openness or the resonance, they will just walk away.
yeah.
It just won't stay.
Yes, 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 yes. Those are the people who have this kind of question. What do you mean an illusion? What do you mean by that? I am touching this. How can this be an illusion? I see you. How is that an illusion? You are there and I am here. How is that an illusion? I'm going through so much pain and happiness, and I have so much stress, and I have a family. And how is that an illusion? And if it's an illusion, who knows it's an illusion? And what
Yeah,
is going on? Where is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Here's the right question to ask to that.
Mm.
When there is an illusion means that there must be some reality. The opposite of an illusion is a reality. So if everything is an illusion, what is the reality?
Well, of course, I wouldn't say that everything is an illusion. I would say the only illusion is that everything is an experience for someone.
Hmm.
So I'm here and I'm experiencing something that's real. That's the illusion. And everything else just is what seems to be happening. But there's nothing that's real. And I think that's the natural reality. What happens being real and unreal? Us sitting here together and having this conversation being real and unreal. That's it. That's all there is. And it'll never become fully real, only, and it's never only fully unreal.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
This
real
is
and unreal simultaneously.
yeah.
And that's it.
The way
This
they
doesn't
say
change. It doesn't stay like that. It's just whatever.
you don't realize in all this that you're doing, there's a lot of teaching and message coming out in that as well.
No, I don't realize that. That's
Yeah,
true. I'm
yeah.
not there.
No, y- uh, what I've realized also is when you're in this state now, uh, you when I talk to people about this, I'm listening to what I am saying because I'm also gonna hear it for the first time. And
Mm,
sometimes I say things and I say, "Wow, I didn't realize this was like that." And so you're doing the same thing, and it just comes out, and sometimes it's so beautiful, and it's paradoxical, but it's true.
mm.
So tell
Yeah,
tell me
it
about
resonates. It points to something which is everything.
yeah.
This, yeah. Uh,
Tell me about the books that you've come out with. The No Approach, No Arriving. That's a book that you authored. The other ones are dialogues, and there's one that's with the posts. No Approach, No Arriving is one that you actually like wrote down as a book. No,
no,
all
I'm
right.
sorry.
What
No.
what what did that one have then?
Well, well, in all the books, there's actually parts where I wrote texts and
Yeah.
stuff, and I guess there'll be a book where I'm just writing at some point because
Oh,
people ask for that.
yeah.
The No Approach, No Arriving, that's actually um, transcribed introductions. And that's one book that someone did for me. So when I do the Zooms or my meetings, I usually have an introduction where I speak for a few minutes.
Okay.
And
Oh, wow.
that's transcriptions of those.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
it sounds like text, but I know a lot of people are asking for text. They don't like this question and answer thing, but
Yeah.
it's really difficult to write a text when there's nothing to say.
Yeah, I authored 10 books in 2019 on non-duality as well. And my last book was The Power of Nothing. I said, after
Yeah.
this, I have nothing more to say after this. I'm done. I wrote 120 pages about nothing.
Mm.
My son was like, you should have left the entire book empty.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
uh, so you had one book on question and answers on non-duality. That's so another one that I saw on your website.
Yeah, that's I
Uh,
think that's a subtitle. You will never be free. And then there are question and answers.
okay, is that is
I think it's a subtitle, or
prob-
I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So the did you write this like many years back? Or
Oh, I think that's from 2019, I think.
yeah, okay, okay, okay. Tell me about the retreats that you do. Do you do them just in Germany, or are they outside Germany? And are they physical retreats or online?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm been giving like kind of physical talks for more than 10 years now, and there is a lot of events in German and in German-speaking countries and retreats, but there are also retreats in English, and usually they are spread around Europe. Oh, I'll be in, well, that's, yeah, I'll be in Vietnam in 1.5 weeks, but that's pretty rare that I'm outside of Europe.
Okay, so mostly in Germany and then around Europe.
And
Understood.
Europe, but those events outside of German-speaking countries, they are in English. I have them in English.
Okay, okay, great. And so how do people get in? How do they get to know that you're in this you're hosting these events, and how do they come?
Well, I think the all information are on my website. That's
Okay.
where basically all the information is.
Yeah, yeah.
So
All
it's
right.
thetimelesswonder.com.
Yeah, yeah. I will be putting the links of your websites and
Cool.
just one website, timelesswonder.com. I will try to get the links of your books on Amazon and put that as well. I
Oh,
I think
lovely.
the website has the links to your social media, to your YouTube channel.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's,
probably
I
has
think
everything.
on YouTube, that's the most, there are
Yeah,
videos and
yeah. And uh, um, I I think we should just sit in silence for 10 minutes. So, you come across as somebody who's really jolly but is this what you are in real life? Like, is this now how you relate with family and friends and the life that you had before this realization or this melting away? How has life changed after that?
Hmm. How has life changed? That's hard to say because life changes anyway all the time. Um, so yeah, there's just no one there seeking anymore, and that's where relating comes from. But probably I regard myself as pretty ordinary, and I regard this conversation already as pretty ordinary, kind of. But I
Yeah.
see that it has a certain dynamic and that it's very joyful and energetic in one way. So, um, of course, this doesn't happen all the time. So, in daily life, I'm quite ordinary.
Yeah. No,
Mm.
what I mean is like, uh do you go back to what when you realize when you say everything is an illusion or people say that, then the question would be, why do anything at all then, why go to work, why wake up in the morning, it's all an illusion. So
Oh yeah,
from that point of view.
because I don't say that it's all an illusion. The only illusion is that it happens for someone, and
Yeah.
apparently life just happens.
S-
Well, there's no question anymore about why get up, why not. It's all for nothing, but that's the natural reality. So, um,
it didn't affect what you were doing before. Life almost carried on in the same way.
Well, that's hard to say because in the story, a lot of things changed. I mean, I started doing these talks, and
Yeah.
it's kind of, I never imagined it. People contact me and want to, and with this resonance and bringing those answers out. And well, of course, I'm still visiting my parents. I've earned money. I have to do all those things. I drive my son to school. Uh, yeah, have
Yeah.
a
All right.
partner, and so
Okay. Okay.
that just happens. And as I said, very ordinarily.
Yeah.
And the surprise is that this is whole and complete, this so-called ordinary life, or what the person would regard as ordinary.
Yeah.
In the end, it's not experienced anymore as it being something ordinary or daily life, or it's what seems to be happening. But it never became in that sense extraordinary that the seeker was looking for.
Okay. Wow. So you've from what I've heard and what you've just said, everything that you've just said, you have had probably one of the most smoothest transition from the melting and the dying into back into everything. I'll just give you a story of mine, my own story. I'm a pop singer. I'm a Punjabi pop singer, pop star. And all my life, I've been doing. The reason I'm so energetic and all this movement, so much energy, is because I'm usually on stage with high energy performances and pop songs, and Bhangra is like the rock music of Indian music. And then I went through this spiritual awakening and transforming, and it shook me to the core. And the day I realized this is an entire illusion, it's like the entire life that I was living was an illusion, it was a lie, right? And that is really difficult to take. A lot of people will not be able to take that. And then what happened after that? About 8 years, I went into isolation. I just pushed away everybody, family, friends, my work, everything. I just isolated myself. And then I came back out. Now I'm talking about this. I've authored books on this. So for me and a few of the people that I know, life has completely changed after that.
Well, well, let's put it like that. Well, I had a phase of intense seeking, and well, actually before I met non-duality. So I think my just last 2 years were rather smooth. But I had kind of phases where you described in the years before.
Okay.
And of course, compared to that and what I thought about life and all that stuff, of course, in that sense, it's a huge change. It's a tremendous change in that sense.
Yeah. Please share that. I would love to hear that. I'm sure a lot of people would want to hear that. Uh, because the change is actually one, it's all internal. For somebody outside,
But as I said, for me, it wasn't really like that the huge shaking up happened when I met this message. So for me,
yeah,
this message calmed everything down and erased the seeker. But of course, in the years before, there was struggling and seeking, and as I said, those highs and lows, uh, and of course, then I also had to be on my own a lot and stuff like that. So this happened. But to me, this is just life of a more or less intense seeking. But I don't really know if that was already part of my collapse, so to speak. I think the collapse happened when this all started, when I really started to fade out.
yeah. Oh, I love that.
So
I love that.
before that, I often thought that this is intense and that this will lead me to something, but
Uh-huh.
in the end, it never did. I thought it was just a more and more extreme circling around myself. And then when I met this message, the melting away started.
Wow. Okay. All right. Good. So, just in the last few minutes now, um, you have your website timelesswonder.com. I'm going to put the links down there. Just tell the people who are listening, this will go on Spotify, on YouTube, on my social media, and I'll share it with you as well if you wanted to put it up anywhere.
Lovely.
Um, how can they get in touch with you apart from Timeless Wonder? What do they need to do? How can they, those who want to learn more from you, maybe learn about your books, where they can get them more about your meetings? Can they do one-on-one coaching, or do you do mentoring, private mentoring? How can they get in touch with you? And after that, what else can we expect in the coming months, in the coming years, or in the coming weeks? Will
Well,
you be, like you say, you'll be in 1.5 weeks? You'll be in the UK,
now Vietnam
yeah,
it was,
or
but
Vietnam, sorry, and then you have a book. So just give us that. Uh,
so, well, I think all the information is on my website, and I think it's quite easy to get in touch with me. So, I mean, I wouldn't say counseling or that stuff, but of course, we can have one-on-ones, everyone who's interested, we can have a private chat, but it's all not that official, that you book an hour or something. But I think I'm rather approachable, so just see the website and
yeah.
basically one can write to me and all those things. Then we just see how it goes from that. And for the next years, I have no idea. I think this just goes on as long as it goes on. And I think there'll just be meetings. And I think it's just very easy to get in touch actually with this message, so to speak.
Those
So
events that you would be hosting are also mentioned on your website, I assume.
absolutely, they are on the website.
Okay.
And
So everything about Andreas Muller is on timelesswonder.com.
yeah, exactly, I
One
think.
final question,
Yeah.
before I let you go. Tell me about the title, timelesswonder.com. How did it?
Oh, I love it so much. I love this title so much, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. The title, you know, I think one of the first things that happened when the decision happened that the talks will happen is okay, I need a name for the website. And then there was a list of things that sounded nice, and the Timeless Wonder was the one that happened, but it doesn't really have a deeper meaning or something. I just still like it.
No, it's beautiful, and I thought maybe you would have sat down and really thought about it, because timeless wonder. It sounds beautiful. It sounds really beautiful, and so. Is there anything that you'd like to convey to the people listening? Anything that we missed out covering that you would like to put on?
Well, I think I can just say, and I mean it, there is nothing to realize. There is no deeper truth. There is nothing, no mysticism and all those things. What we talk about, the natural reality, is very simple. It's what seems to be happening, and there isn't anything beyond what seems to be happening. However, of course, it's not an experience. The experiencer isn't real. The I is an illusion. So there is no one. That's why nothing can be achieved, and that's why nothing has been lost. It's this impression I am and I'm unfulfilled, which doesn't have any substance. That's the dream, that's the illusion. And it doesn't have to be replaced by a me that sees or becomes enlightened. That's a fight that can't be won. It'll never be won. There'll never be someone who got it.
Oh, 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 wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Oh,
Thank you
lovely.
so much for your time, Andreas. That was beautiful. That was the highlight of this entire podcast. That was beautiful. I thank you so much, and I'm sure a lot of people will be getting in touch with you. Would want to read your books, and the one that you actually author, I would love to read that one when that one comes out. And
Yeah, cool. It might still take a little while, but
no
it's,
problem, no problem.
yeah,
I have all the time. It's timeless place. Don't
Yes.
worry. Yeah. So thank you so much, Andreas. I really appreciate, and I'm sure everybody listening to this, uh, when we have this kind of conversations, they sound crazy. I try to have a lot of fun while I'm doing them. I try to make it very light-hearted and a little different from where we're just talking about awareness and nothingness, and
Yeah.
and it's so divine and it's so secretive, and I try to keep it very really fun and light-hearted. So
Yeah.
I really thank you so much, and uh, again, once I don't know how to say thank you in German, but can you say
Yeah, but danke schön. But thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation. I enjoyed it very much. A lovely conversation. Lovely.
cheers?
Cheers. Thank you.
All right, we'll cut it there now. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. That was
Yeah.
one. When we have somebody who says there is nothing to talk about, and the questioner or the seeker can keep asking, and the person there is nothing, there is nothing, and you keep saying that until the seeker actually now starts listening to that, and then he realizes there is no seeker, there is no seeker. Oh yeah, there is no seeker. Oh my God, there is no
Yeah.
seeker.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the same one point being hammered again and again and again and again.
Absolutely.
And like you don't, I don't realize it, you don't realize it, but that's what you're doing. It's hammering the same one point.
Yeah.
Is it this? No. Is it that? No. Is it here?
Yeah.
No. Is it there?
Exactly.
No.
But in a very natural way,
Yeah.
not as a method. It
Yes.
happens so
Yes.
naturally.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Absolutely.
Wow. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.